The biggest thing that Fred said was create a company.
Right. So with that, we were able to create a company and learn from our previous failures.
For some reason, you guys love when we talk about podcasts that break up, podcast networks that break up, whatever it is, y'all love breakups. So we're going to do a part 2 of the I Am Athlete breakup because there has been more information that surfaced that we found should be talked about from a business side, right? The Chad and Fred and Ryan, the new Pivot podcast, right? They actually did a interview talking about, well, I'll just let you guys listen to it.
For us, it was a blessing in disguise to be able to join together with Ryan, create a company, create our show, and really just try and push the culture.
The biggest thing that Fred said was create a company.
Right. So with that, we were able to create a company and learn from our previous failures.
So now, if we can remember that episode where we originally talked about the I Am Athlete breakup, we both, me and Moose, assumed that the business just wasn't right. So the way they had explained it before was I can't even say the word, the foundation. I tried to say the word and I messed up just like Fred in that interview. The foundation had just changed, right? What they originally came in for is just not, and they didn't do the paperwork right. They didn't do the paperwork at all. It was more like, let's come together and we'll do this on, while this happens. But the success happened so quick that they couldn't get on exact terms that they wanted to. And it just fell off, right? Cool. So now what they're saying now is, oh no, if we do this, let's get the paperwork. Let's do this. Now, the thing is, that's one side of things, right? Seeing how we have an idea and we want, we just want it to work and see how it is, and then we can figure out the business later. I found another side of things where we have a top podcast as well, not us, Wallo and Gillies, right? And how they started their podcast. They started their idea, and see how that works.
Logo done. I got the attorney, LLC, filed the trademark, and I said, listen, I'm going to need you to sign this. Tomorrow we're going to set this account up. And then it's on. It was on from there. We got different parts to play. I'm never going to do it. Gil is the that could go in his DM and say, yo, what's up? We pulling up. And I'm like, all right, come on, let's do it. We want to, we want to end. I'm just going to do all the other shit. Okay, bet. We got to make sure we get this. We're going to be there. I got the mics. I got boom, boom. I'm that. And we not in competition. We both financially cool. We ain't worrying about stuff. So it's like, that's what makes it so good about us. And he know his role, and I know my role.
Y'all 50-50 down the middle?
50-50.
Yeah. Big difference.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Hey. But here's my thing about the first one, and this one comes to my mind first. It's like, that wasn't an original idea. You get me? Like, B. Marshall had come up with this grand vision around creating a lifestyle brand for athletes. Take the podcast, that's like locker room talk. You bring, former players around to discuss and have these types of talks. You guys go through some turmoil and you try to copy the idea, but do it your way. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not even knocking the move. I'm just saying, I don't know that the same passion or reason that B. Marshall started with exists here. You're just doing it as a way of like, okay, let me just do that because it's something to do. So it's like, that to me, I don't know. I think it's questionable. It's not an original idea. It was just a pivot move and a copy type situation. I don't know. That to me is.
Well, I'll say this. that idea for that podcast period isn't necessarily original. We offline we talked about the Players Tribute, right?
Oh, that's right. Players Tribune, yeah.
Yeah, and so that particular podcast, I think it's called Knuckleheads, that had Derek Jeter on it, right? For those people who may be lost, we watched an interview that was going to possibly be on the podcast about Derek Jeter, right? And that's another, like, okay, athletes talking to other athletes about the game and life after, you know? So I don't know if necessarily that idea is super original, but there's different perspectives with each podcast. There's a different perspective with the one that we saw with Derek Jeter. There's a different perspective with I Am Athlete. There's a different perspective with the Pivot, you know, and the crazy thing is when we're looking at the comments that we got on our videos, there's a lot of people that was like, yo, I love both. I'm not going to not watch one or the other. Like, they both are pretty good. So I was like, to the original thing.
It's interesting because, well, the Players Tribune with Derek Jeter actually started off as like almost a legitimate media company.
Yeah.
So they just jumped on to podcasting now. So if you think about it, like Kevin Durant, when he made his decision to leave, I think Oklahoma and go to Golden State, or when he left Golden State, one of the transitions, he wrote a letter. It was like an open letter. So the Players Tribune was like it was almost like a ESPN online type thing where people were just writing letters, or, you know, you would speak directly to the fans and you would release it through there. So they're just introducing podcasting now. What I'm actually kind of surprised too, as I'm seeing the next level, because the new level of podcasting, I think, is media companies.
Yes.
Right. People are recognizing that you don't just want to be a podcast, you've got to develop a media company. I'm surprised B. Marshall didn't take him under his wing, like under his media company, and give him the podcast. Like, it's like, oh, you don't want to do it this on I Am Athlete anymore, or you don't want it to be this way. So why don't y'all get your show under this media company? You know what I'm saying? Like that, I'm surprised that didn't happen, because it would have been a win-win. It's like, okay, I'll still continue to put the efforts, you won't go, and then it's still under the network or it's still under the media company.
Yeah,
so
but they're probably,
also could have been.
I will say they're probably scorned from business side.
For sure.
I'll say
I can see that.
Yeah, they're probably scorned. And I can understand it, but...
Yeah. What's your thoughts on the Wallo and Gillies? I mean, they had obviously an explosive growth.
Yeah.
Like, killing it.
I think what I love about them is every move they make is a legit move. Like, they, like you said, logo, trademark, we're under contract. It is what it is. Boom. And we know our roles. I think that was another one of the biggest problems that we've seen in these podcast breakups between Joe and them, as far as Maul and Rory. And then with I Am Athlete, we're not really sure if they knew their roles. They even admitted, Chad and Fred was like, yo, we ended up just being talent after a while. And so once things are legit and you know your roles, there's like, really, you can't stop that. Like, I know why I'm here. Boom. I'm, like Wallo said, I'm the one that's looking at the analytics. I know what to do. I know what not to do for that. I got the mics. I got the cameras. Boom. Gillies is making sure the relationship side, we're getting all these guests from this person, that person. Like, he's taking care of that. I'm taking care of this. And with that, the podcast has been successful. There isn't a hiccup. There isn't necessarily a disagreement, because we're both on the same page. I don't touch your stuff. You don't touch my stuff. And together, it makes a whole thing. Now, another thing I heard was we're not competitive. right? So when roles aren't picked, like roles aren't defined, you tend to be competitive because maybe one may get more shine than the other, right? And if you don't really understand the value of each other, that could then cause some clashing. So I'm looking at it like, okay, if you're going to model from, and it doesn't necessarily have to be podcast. So I don't want everybody to get stuck on the podcast situation. It's more of people getting together for an idea to create business, because podcasting is a business, right? So instead of just being, okay, I love you, we're great, I like you, your perspective is cool, let's talk this out on a podcast, or let's create a business together, let's do something collaborative, right? Instead of just going off of love and heart and everything like that, okay, if you're serious about this, let's get this business straight, because we're in a world that this could blow up in 2.3 seconds. This can go, and then now we're given a guap of opportunities and money, and one may feel more entitled to have it than the other, yet this is an equal situation as far as you hear this name, you see these people, or you talk about this particular media situation, you know these people are involved. So this is just a lesson of like, okay, we've seen multiple breakups, but here's two people who's doing it right, who's killing it, who's done multiple brand deals, crazy amount of money, has a crazy $1 million deal with Barstool, and is possibly going to re-up on it. So why not learn from that? Like, that's how I'm like, why is there so many breakups if there is a model that is working?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, and I'm sure I've mentioned it multiple times on the history of our podcast, but role awareness is one of the most important elements of any successful collaboration.
Yeah.
If there's any blurred vision around the two, like you said, it can create competitiveness. One person may feel like they're not appreciated or valued. There's all of this back and forth. You're having to do things twice because you're trying to prove your worth, when it's like, no, but I got that. It's like, no. It's like role awareness is one of the most important elements. Can't stress it enough. Everybody go read the book by Simon Sinek. What's the name of the book? Oh, Start With Why. Start With Why. Great book. But he talks about in that book how every why person needs a how person. And it shows you the importance of having a difference in your role, or a variety in your role, or specialties in your role. Meaning there's someone who is maybe the visionary, the why, he comes up with the mission or the idea. And sure, that you're not just an idea person. You have different responsibilities when the business is out of idea stage, but there's also a how person who's operational. He thinks through process and how things should be done. So it shows you that every successful company, and then I love the book because he gives you different examples of it. Every why person has a how person, which is exactly that, role awareness, separation of what we're doing together so that it can actually succeed. So yeah, super important.
That's good.